or visit allamericangold.com.
Hey, Larry Elder here. Thank you for listening to the Bucky Dillon Show, hosted by the Liberty Revolt and KHNC.
What's up, guys? Good morning. Bucky Dillon here, your host. This is our morning show. I say it over and over. This is our morning show because I'm so glad to be here with you, and I invite you to call in at any time, 970-587-5171. So last night, we had a little get-together here at the radio station, and I gave a presentation on an issue that's very near and dear to my heart, an issue that I have studied relentlessly for some time now. And a nice handful of people showed up, and we had a great discussion. It was a cool time. Sold a little bit of CBD product, which was great for the customer and great for us. So thanks, Herb. It really does help support the station, and we absolutely appreciate you doing so. We are going to try to be hosting a lot more little community events like this as we move forward. We've been talking about it for some time, and I think now we're just going to jump on it and see how it goes. We don't have all the infrastructure in place that we would like to have, but sometimes you just got to stumble your way through it. And hey, maybe as we're doing things, people would decide that they would like to help us on our mission to get more involved in the community here. It looks like we're going to switch from Sunday nights to Friday nights. Friday night seems to work better for other people here at the station, and possibly better for some of the people who want to come hang out. So just let us know. Let us know. You can email me anytime, buckydillon@khnc.net, and let me know which evenings you'd rather be attending the radio station and hanging out with us. So I titled today's episode, Sexually Abusive Human and Child Traffickers Love Joe Biden. And that's a true statement. And not just the ones along our southern border, the ones in China too. Did you guys see Joe Biden's town hall when they asked him about concentration camps in China? And he responded by saying something like, oh, well, we just have different cultural values, cultural norms. Wow. Wow. If you consider yourself someone who cares about liberal values, if you consider yourself someone who cares about progressive values, you have to be absolutely disgusted by Joe Biden's weak stance on China. Just in the last few weeks, he has given China more control over our electrical grid. Biden withdrew Trump rule on schools disclosing ties to Chinese state-run Confucius institutes. Biden rescinded Trump order banning Chinese involvement in the U.S. power grid. And he had just a nice, wonderful, long, pleasant conversation with his good pal and owner, Xi Jinping. With all the issues that we talk about climate change, wars in the Middle East, terrorism, all of these issues, none of them come close to the threat that China poses to liberal democracies around the world. They're becoming, we thought that if we let China in, that they would become liberalized, that they would start expanding civil rights and human rights in China. Well, that is certainly not the case. Under Xi Jinping, they've actually started to clamp down significantly more in terms of punishing dissent, in terms of military aggression, in terms of internal oppression, censorship, things of that nature. But if you want to hear me talk about China, come hang out on Friday nights. I'm going to be here this Friday night, and it seems as though we're going to be doing this every Friday. Now, it's not just going to be me giving lectures, right? We are going to be having movie nights. We're going to be having comedy. We're going to be having karaoke. We're going to be having all kinds of fun events to get the community involved here at KHNC and just get to hang out with our audience. You know, a lot of times you hear people on the radio and you can get a pretty good connection with someone just by listening to them on a regular basis. But if you really want to connect with us, come hang out with us. Let us get to know you, because as I say, this is a community effort. This is our morning show. And what I'm trying to do is make this a collaborative between myself and the community. So come on down, hang out with us. We had a lot of fun last night, and we hope that you join us soon. Biden on immigration. My goodness. Guys, let me tell you all about this when we come back from the break. If you want to be shocked and dismayed, stick around.
Hey, it's Larry Elder. Thank you for listening to me every weekday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on 1360 KHNC, the roar of the Rockies. Do you own a business in northern Colorado or surrounding areas? Are you looking to reach a conservative, family-based, loyal audience which could grow your business? Well, take my advice and just call 970-587-5003 or email on the air at 1360khnc.com and tell them Larry sent you.
Debuting Saturday, March 6th, right here on KHNC 1360 AM, the roar of the Rockies, and every Saturday morning, March through October, from 7 to 8 a.m., the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Topic focused, guests from across the country, and answering your garden questions. Submit your questions now to gardentalkradio@gmail.com or call anytime to 1-800-927-SHOW. That's every Saturday morning from 7 to 8 a.m., right here on the roar of the Rockies. Catch the replay Sunday afternoons from 4 to 5 p.m.
Do you need your fireplace cleaned? Not sure if your fireplace is working right, or not sure if the fireplace is efficient? Call Abundant Flame at 970-966-0217 to schedule your appointment. All brands of gas fireplaces, freestanding and built-ins, pellet stoves, wood fireplaces, and electric fireplaces. Visit us at Abundant-Flame or call 970-966-0217.
Hey man, pass the bottle over. Take a couple of hits off the My Kind CBD. Get your CBD by going to 1360khnc.com and click on the shopping button, man.
Silly Jamaican. There's no THC in this product. It's certified THC free. Just go to the website, 1360khnc.com, click the shop.
欢迎收听 KHNC 广播电台 Bucky Dillon 早安秀，大家的早安广播，谢谢。
The reason why I have studied immigration so closely is because it's so fundamental to what it is to be a nation. There is nothing racist, there's nothing hateful, there's nothing bigoted about having operational control of your borders. It doesn't mean that you don't let people in. In fact, I'm actually a proponent of giving amnesty. But you have to accomplish border security first. You can't just go out there and say, yeah, we're going to give amnesty to people while simultaneously not having control of your borders, because people will just rush the borders and then try to claim that they've been there all along. But we certainly can't go door to door throughout this country and deport tens of millions of people. Most of these people have jobs, children. It's just, not only are there serious economic and logistic problems with trying to attempt that, it's just kind of ugly, right? I do believe in giving a pathway to citizenship that are here now. And honestly, I think that's one of the things Republicans should consider doing if they want to be successful in the long run. Because let's face it, 80% of the illegal immigrants are going to vote for the party that let them in. And Democrats are dead set on doing that. That's part of the reason they don't want to accomplish operational control of our borders. They would like to import new Democrat voters. They believe that, and with some evidence to support the theory, that if they can give citizenship and voting rights to illegal immigrants here in the country, 80% plus will vote for the Democratic Party, or at least vote for the party that let them in. And that is one way in which Democrats could achieve a near permanent majority in this country, at least for a generation or two. Now, a lot of damage can be done in a generation or two. Just look at what happened in China. By the way, just one shocking statistic you might be interested in learning. Between 2011 and 2013, China poured more concrete than the United States has poured in 114 years. In 2016, they graduated 4.7 million graduates in the STEM fields. And the United States graduated less than 600 times. Well, it's about 8 times. About 8 times. They have consistently, since the mid-90s, graduated more engineers than us. Some of these years, they've graduated 3 times as many engineers. I've heard someone make the contention that in one of the recent years, they graduated more engineers in a single year than the United States has engineers. Let me read you guys a headline here. China doing human testing to create super soldiers. China's soldiers are marching off the battlefield and into the biology lab. Members of China's People's Liberation Army were subjected to science fiction style human testing to create biologically enhanced super soldiers, a top U.S. intelligence official said on Friday. The Middle Kingdom is launching unethical military experiments that sound fit for the superhero flick Captain America, John Ratcliffe, the director of the National Intelligence, said in a Wall Street Journal op-ed. There are no ethical boundaries to Beijing's pursuit of power, Ratcliffe proclaims, citing U.S. intelligence. People's Republic of China poses the greatest threat to America today. The technological ambitious country has been working to develop soldiers with biologically enhanced capabilities as part of a scheme to take over the planet economically, militarily, and technologically. The intelligence honcho gave no other details about the human testing, but China has ambitions to use biotechnology during war through the gene editing technology. Scholars said in a research paper last year, according to NBC News, Ratcliffe's office and the CIA didn't immediately return a request for details about the program, but Chinese researchers in recent years have experimented with the gene editing tool CRISPR, short for clusters of regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats, to treat diseases and potentially enhance human performance. By contrast, Western scientists consider it unethical to manipulate genes to boost the performance of healthy people. While the potential leveraging of CRISPR to increase human capabilities on the future battlefield remains only a present time, there are indications that the Chinese military researchers are starting to explore its potential. And do not be surprised, because he is absolutely correct in the assertion that they will do whatever it takes for the concentration and accumulation of power. That is certainly true, and they are well on our way. While we have been wasting trillions of dollars, as far as I'm concerned, this entire stimulus package is a waste. Look at the deaths per capita in Florida versus California. They're essentially the same, except California has been locked down for a year. Locked down for a year. Florida has been opened up. They recommend wearing masks, but Florida is essentially back to business. Their economy is one of the strongest in the country right now. And it's actually interesting that Biden wants to punish Florida for this. This is all political. DeSantis slams Biden for allegedly allowing illegal aliens into the U.S. Wrong article. Where am I here, boys and girls? Well, if I remember correctly, essentially what the article I had been looking at suggested is that Biden administration may impose travel restrictions on domestic flights, particularly on Florida. Oh, yes. Ron DeSantis slammed President Joe Biden during an interview on Sunday for allegedly allowing illegal aliens to enter the U.S. without being screened for COVID-19, while reportedly considering implementing domestic travel restrictions between states. DeSantis said that potential domestic travel restrictions placed on Florida by the Biden administration would amount to a political attack against Florida and would be unconstitutional. Florida schools have been open the whole school year, DeSantis said. Every parent in Florida has the right to send their child to in-person instruction. Every worker has the right to work and earn a living and put food on the table, and every business has a right to operate. Every American business is essential. And consequently, our state is doing very well compared to other states in terms of education and the economy. But we also have 26 other states and the District of Columbia that have higher per capita COVID mortality than we do. We have 28 states that have higher per capita cases than we do for the bulk of the pandemic, he continued. And if you look right now, states that are always held up by people in Biden's administration, like New York, have way higher per capita patients hospitalized for COVID right now. So there's basically, in medical, there's no basis in economics. There's no basis in reality to do this, except to punish a state that is doing it better than what his experts have recommended. When asked about reports indicating that the Biden administration is not screening illegal aliens for COVID-19, DeSantis said that it was all political. So he's opening illegals pour in. They're not doing any COVID tests. They're just coming in to the communities, DeSantis said. We have no idea what type of COVID or other things they may be carrying. But yet he wants to potentially make you take a test if you just get on an airplane and fly from one American city to the next. Or he wants to prevent travel to the state of Florida. This stinks to high heaven. It is a huge contradiction, and you can't square wanting to open borders for illegal aliens, but then also restricting U.S. citizens from basically traveling around the country as they see fit, DeSantis said. And I think the American people see the hypocrisy in that. Do you guys see the hypocrisy in that? I certainly do. Want to talk about a super spreading event? We have a caravan of, what was it, 8,000, 11,000 Southern American migrants making their way here now. Wow. 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 I just can't believe how ridiculous this is. There's nothing wrong with having operational control of your borders. And what kind of behaviors does it incentivize when you tell people, we're not going to enforce the border, we're not going to invest in border security, we're going to give amnesty to people here without accomplishing any form of border security? What people fail to realize is that the cartels have operational control of the southern side of that border. People aren't just willy-nilly walking across the border. They are guided across by cartels. Why do we have children in underfunded facilities separated from adults when they come across the border? Because we have tens of thousands of children who are coming across the border with people who are not their parents. Because of stupid laws in our immigration system, human traffickers, drug traffickers, crime traffickers have realized, it's common knowledge, that all they have to do is bring a child with them, and they're almost guaranteed to be released into the interior of the United States. Why are the facilities so run down? Because Democrats refuse to fund them. These facilities are not meant to be overcrowded. These facilities are not meant to be filled to the brim. We have our Border Patrol agents sometimes spending upwards of 50% of their time trying to deal with these migrant families. That's what's making this a crisis. So here's what I try to explain to people. The five possibilities we have when confronted with children unaccompanied or in the company of parents who may or may not be their parents, adults in the company of adults who may or may not be their parents. And I'll tell you all about that after the break. The Bucky Dillon Show right here on KHNC.
Hey guys, this is Steve from Red Pill Truth, KHNC 1360 AM, Johnstown, Colorado. This show runs Saturdays at 3. We talk about the truths that the mainstream media won't tell you about until they have to. We'll see you Saturday at 3.
Back in the USSR. Socialism, like the ancient ideas from which it springs, confuses the distinction between government and society. As a result, every time we object to a thing being done by government, the socialists conclude we object to it being done at all. We disapprove of state education, and the socialists say we are opposed to any education. Socialism. Frederick Bastiat, The Law.
Back in the Chinese state-run media are celebrating the apparent success of Joe Biden and the mainstream news outlets, which act as nothing more than the communications branch of the Democrat Party. Among the many things we are doing to become more engaged in the culture, 1360khnc.com now has a blog page for the sharing of hard-hitting conservative content. Help us break the left's domination of media by becoming a content contributor. Reach out to contact at 1360khnc.com to learn more.
This is Sam Shook, Navy Vet and Medicare Specialist. I just want to thank the KHNC listeners for their support and trust in me as their Medicare specialist. If you are currently on Plan F, we are in a window of opportunity that can save you a lot of money towards your monthly premium. Please contact me at 970-413-4939. If you are getting into Medicare soon or are already enrolled and have questions, please call me at 970-413-4939. Again, thanks KHNC listeners.
Hey, KHNC listeners, Bucky Dillon here. By the way, I just want to let you know if you're interested in buying or selling real estate, I highly recommend you contact my friend Jerry at SearsRealEstate.com. He's been doing real estate here since like 2005. And you don't just get him, you get the entire Sears Real Estate team, one of the best in the business, looking out for you on one of the most crucial purchases of your life. Don't mess it up. Contact my friend Jerry at SearsRealEstate.com.
The Patriot Trading Group is a different kind of gold and silver company, cleaning up the industry for 21 years. Are you tired of the high-pressured sales tactics, the constant phone calls? Are you done with the bait and switch? You just want to be treated fairly with honesty and respect? That's exactly what you get when you call 800-951-0592. You have my word on it. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. Check us out online at allamericangold.com.
Be careful when you're dealing with a conspiracy theorist. You may end up with a whole lot more truth than you're used to handling. This has been a public service announcement from KHNC.
The Bucky Dillon Show is a Liberty Revolt Media production. www.libertyrevoltmedia.com.
So when people are making their way across the border, there's only really, I would say, off the top of my head, 5 things you can do with children accompanied by adults who may or may not be their parents, and children who show up unaccompanied. Number 1, you just let them in. That's what Democrats would like, of course. Number 2, you put the child and the adult into jail until we can figure out, until their court date. Number 3, you put the adult into a jail because they did break the law, illegally crossing into our country, until a court date, which may be 3 years down the road, and you put the child into a form of a daycare facility, a child care facility. Number 4, you just say no, and you release them back into the desert and hope that they make it back to their original countries. Or number 5, you spend millions of dollars trying to facilitate travel back to their original countries. And most of the time, they don't tell you where they're from because they don't want to be sent back. So obviously, we need to, number one, figure out if the adults presenting themselves with the child is actually the child's parent. Because, our Border Patrol agents are routinely and regularly coming across children over and over again. The same child being recycled with different. Obviously, there's something nefarious going on there. And given that our laws incentivize the use of bringing a child into the country because they can use it as a essentially free ticket into the U.S., well, this is, of course, what they do. Who are these people doing the trafficking? Well, it's largely cartels who are highly involved in running drugs and sex trafficking. We talk about the humanity of our border policies, and that's something I agree with. We should be talking about the humanity of our border policies. But no country in the world has ever had to deal with the level of immigration, illegal immigration, that the United States is. No country. Gosh, it's so easy for other countries to talk about how humane their border policies are when they hardly have any illegal immigration to deal with. Meanwhile, in 2016, 17, we were having upwards of 1 million immigrants a year, and Border Patrol agents believe they only catch 1 in 4. They are completely financially and technologically unequipped to handle this level of illegal immigration. Dan Crenshaw talked about a young woman who was illegally smothered into the border at the age of, I think, 14 or 15, if I remember correctly. And she was taken all the way to New York City and able to extract from her cartel dues. She was put forcefully into prostitution, where she was raped approximately 30 times a day for years. The Democrats don't talk about that humanity. Those nightmares, which absolutely exist. Further investigation, agents to a stash house with upwards of 50 women and children being held by the cartel because they hadn't, quote, paid their cartel dues. The cartel has operational control of the southern side of the border. It is not an unproven fact that there is tremendous crime in the southern border immigration issue. And all of Joe Biden's policies so far weaken our border security. Essentially, Joe Biden's immigration agenda fundamentally erases the very essence of America's nationhood. He's essentially saying, we don't care about our country. Anyone can just come in. And we're bad people if we vet it. Now, it's interesting because, gosh, Joe Biden sure had big walls at his inauguration. I'm sure Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and all these other Democrats, Chuck Schumer, all live behind walled communities and fenced properties. And it's so hypocritical. You know it's hypocritical. Because when Trump said, oh, fine, you don't want to enforce immigration, we'll send all of these illegal immigrants to your sanctuary cities. And they all protested that. MS-13 isn't terrorizing the community, kidnapping children, and selling drugs in Nancy Pelosi's neighborhood. So much of Biden's agenda is just virtue signaling by sacrificing America's sovereignty and America's strength. Doesn't seem to realize that the runners up to global dominance, who are coming up on us fast, by the way, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, they're not going to hinder themselves for the sake of so-called social justice, especially when that social justice undercuts social justice. You're listening to the Bucky Dillon Show right here, KHNC. Let me tell you how social justice undercuts social justice.
KHNC listeners, Jerry Axon with Sears Real Estate. Please keep me in mind when you are ready to buy or sell, or if you have real estate questions. Another option is the lease with option to buy. The lease program is set up with a year-to-year lease and guarantees a fixed rent and purchase price for 5 years. Jerry Axum, 970-576-1089, 576-1089. Jerry at SearsRealEstate.com.
Chinese state-run media are celebrating the apparent success of Joe Biden, and the mainstream news outlets, which act as nothing more than the communications branch of the Democrat Party. Among the many things we are doing to become more engaged in the culture, 1360khnc.com now has a blog page for the sharing of hard-hitting conservative content. Help us break the left's domination of media by becoming a content contributor. Reach out to contact at 1360khnc.com to learn more. What's up, KHNC Patriots? Bucky Dillon here. If you're looking for a simple and free way to support the station, check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/1360KHNC. It really does help us reach a broader and a younger audience, help us take our country back. Give it a like, give it a follow, give it a share, invite your friends. You can watch the live streams, you can read the blog, you can share the memes, and you can join the conversation. You can join the fight, facebook.com/1360KHNC.
When a parent struggles with addiction or dies from a drug overdose, what happens to their children? Far too many end up in foster care, unable to ever return to their birth homes because it's simply not safe. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is fighting the clock so that teens don't age out of foster care, leaving them at a higher risk of addiction and other negative outcomes that can happen to a child without the love and stability of a permanent family. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
Great minds think alike. Thank you for listening to the Bucky Dillon Show, hosted by the Liberty Revolt. Join me, Larry Elder, today at 5 on 1360 KHNC. Now back to Bucky Dillon.
Who are the people most hurt by unmitigated illegal immigration? Who are the ones who are undercut from job opportunities by an influx of low-skill workers? Which communities are terrorized by criminals who make it across the border, who they're afraid to deport because they might just walk right back in? It's interesting. One of the things that shocked the left about the 2020 election is that Hispanic voters voted for Trump in levels significantly higher than they had historically supported Republicans. In fact, they noticed that the closer to the southern border Hispanic voters were, the more likely they were to vote for Trump. What does that tell you? Well, it's pretty easy once you understand that the gang members, the drug dealers, the human traffickers that make it in through our lenient border policies and our stupid laws that incentivize illegal immigration, they go to those communities. And that's where they cause problems. And the locals are afraid to deport them because let's say you try to deport your local MS-13 gang member. Well, he figures out who called the authorities on them. He just walks right back across the border and makes off with your family member or starts terrorizing you. And you're afraid to call the authorities because you yourself may or may not be here legally. You have decent, hardworking, genuinely good people who, may be here illegally, who are afraid to call for help because criminals, dangerous, violent criminals, are terrorizing them, and they are afraid to do anything about it. The first people undercut for job opportunities when they have to compete with illegal migrants are people who've received poor educations, people who didn't have a father figure in their life teaching them certain work ethics or whatever. And that's not a jab at single mothers. It's just that, single mothers don't have nearly as much time to devote to their children as when there's two parents involved. They have to work. They have to take care. They have to take care financially of their children. And hey, I don't have anything against single parents. I wish we could restore the traditional family unit in this country. We'd be far better off. Single mothers are some of the first people to be overlooked in a job interview because they don't have the same scheduling flexibility that, say a single man with no children has. It's disproportionately people with disabilities, people with criminal backgrounds, perhaps even petty criminal backgrounds, right? It's single mothers. It's disproportionately minority communities who are the first ones overlooked when they have to compete with mass influx of illegal immigrants with low skill labor. And companies love hiring the low skill labor because they don't have to abide by the same regulations, minimum wages, tax laws, everything else. I would like to give a pathway to citizenship for the illegal immigrants here today. But we have to have operational control of our borders first. We have to. And you know what? Bringing in too many illegal immigrants socially and culturally destabilizes the community. It's actually a recipe for racism. It's not racist to have operational control of your borders, but it's absolutely a recipe for racism to be giving communities no say in who comes in and flooding their towns, their cities with people of a different culture, a different language, different values, lots of people who tend to have lots of problems. That's why they came here in the first place. And that's not a jab at them. Everyone has problems. It's just, it is what it is, right? And, I love these people. I think we need more people in this country. We're trying to compete with countries like China that outnumber us 5-1. We need to have the manpower. We need to have the human capital, the human resources to compete with other countries. But we have to import immigrants on a merit-based system and at a rate that doesn't economically or culturally destabilize our country and tear us apart. And that's what it does. That's what it does. And we're spending tens of billions of dollars. I've heard estimates anywhere from 17 to 25 billion dollars a year trying to enforce illegal immigration, depending on what factors you want to count. Gosh, that's far more than what we would spend on a wall. A wall would pay for itself 3 times over in the first year if it was built. Because walls work. They absolutely work. And if you actually care about diversity, shouldn't we be importing immigrants from all over the world? Not just Mexico and Southern America? If you care about diversity, shouldn't we be bringing in immigrants from all over? And we do, by the way, more so than any other country in the world. I've heard it said that the United States brings in 25% of the entire world's immigration legally. We have about 60 million immigrants living and working in the country right now, legal immigrants.
COVID has stopped Triangle Cross Ranch from conducting any fundraisers since March of 2020. Current state government issues has stopped our ability to have fundraisers until March 2021. We need financial donations to get through the rest of the year. Any financial support is welcome, or just send $1 US silver dollar a month to support our Christian mission. Triangle Cross Ranch, 36049 County Road 51, P.O. Box 727, Gailton, Colorado, 80622.
I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and I would like to encourage everyone to make sure they are prepared financially as the Federal Reserve continues to destroy the value of the dollar. Since the closing of the gold window in 1971, the Federal Reserve has led the way in the explosion of debt and the devaluing of your money. They openly say that they need 2% inflation, which simply means they hope to devalue your money, and they want to do this every single year, year after year. I know it's hard to understand, but the Federal Reserve believes in prosperity through debt and growth via the devaluation of your future. To learn more about how to protect yourself, visit us at allamericangold.com or call us at 800-951-0592 and protect yourself against the devaluing of your money.
Is the driveway made of fruit leather, or has the apple stopped appling? If your half of a 100-foot cottonwood tree just needs a haircut, call Affordable Tree Service North at 970-568-6898. We have saved many trees everyone else said was dead. Ah, show offs. Hey, you're not in this one either. From fire mitigation, bushes, trees to bees, that's 568-6898. God bless us.
All of the music for the Bucky Dillon Morning Show was provided by my band, Beer for Bears. Find us on social media by looking for Beer for Bears.
You know, I have a very straightforward slogan that I like to use when talking about illegal immigration. Put your own oxygen mask on first. That about sums it up, doesn't it? I do think, as the world economic leader, that we do have a call to take care of our neighbors, to send foreign aid. And guess what? The United States does a tremendous job of that. We have led the world consistently for decades and decades and decades on the World Giving Index. The United States gives more foreign aid, and the American people give more charity than almost any other civilization in the history of the world. In fact, get this, the religious right, Christian conservatives, give charity at 4 times the rate than anybody else in the country. I'm not saying that they don't have their own moral faults, but I'm saying if secular liberals gave twice as much as they do now in charitable giving, they still would only give at half the rate of Christian conservatives. But they see themselves as the most generous and moral of people because they believe in government redistribution schemes, which, by the way, have historically never worked. I would like my lefty friends to point out to me any example from any in the world where the policies being proposed for the black communities by Democrats have ever lifted anyone out of poverty in a sustainable way, in a way that has made people self-sufficient and independent. Now, when I say that Joe Biden is loved by human traffickers, I don't just mean at the southern border. Chinese state-run media, the Chinese Communist Party, is celebrating Joe Biden. They love this guy. Meanwhile, China leads the world for sex trafficking and bride kidnapping. Both domestic and foreign sex trafficking is flourishing, with women being trafficked from North Korea, Vietnam, Pakistan, and as far away as Colombia. This is one of the perverse consequences of the evil one-child policy. They have essentially 34 million more men than they have women, and this provides a huge market for sex trafficking, and they have a lot of poor neighbors, particularly North Korea. A lot of women desperately are trying to escape North Korea, and they are taken in by, it's essentially the same as the cartel in Southern America. They're taken in by brokers who then sell them to the highest bidder. They're North Korean women who are sold into sex slavery or sold into as a bride for 63 American dollars. And they love Joe Biden because Joe Biden ain't going to do nothing. Because I guess we just have different cultural norms, don't we? Guys, check out 1360khnc.com/shop if you want to support what we do here, if you want to support getting the word out. Also, this Wednesday, I am going to be having my friend Jerry Axum on the station. He's going to be calling in, and we are going to open up the phone lines and invite people to have all of their real estate questions, concerns, ideas answered. I look forward to it. I hope you give it a listen.
Live for auto insurance? It only takes 10 minutes to find out. Hi, this is Kevin Bowles with Badger Insurance Advisors. Choosing insurance plans can be difficult. That's why I make it easy.